Welcome to Headline News. This is Maria Han. Against Georgia's election reform, Major League Baseball announces All-Star Game to change location. Trump calls for boycott. MLB, Major League Baseball, released a statement on Friday, April 2nd, announcing that it was moving the 2021 Baseball All-Star Game out of Atlanta in opposition to a new election law introduced in Georgia. In response, former U.S. President Donald Trump issued a statement that day urging his supporters to boycott the Baseball All-Star Game. Trump argued that the Professional Baseball League made the decision because they were afraid of accusations from the radical left, and that the new election law announced in Georgia was the right one to follow. According to FoxNews.com, MLB released a statement on April 2nd claiming that this year's Baseball All-Star Game from mid-June to early July will no longer be held in Atlanta, Georgia as originally planned, because Georgia Governor Brian Kemp signed the state's new election law requiring that no canvassing activities be held near polling places in future elections in the state, and that those who apply for absentee ballots must show identification. RSBN tweeted Trump's Save America statement saying that organizations like Major League Baseball and many left-wing institutions and organizations should not interfere with the U.S. election, because the U.S. election should have required identification long ago. He wrote in the statement, quote, "Baseball is already losing tremendous numbers of fans, and now they leave Atlanta with their All-Star Game because they are afraid of the radical left Democrats who do not want voter ID, which is desperately needed, to have anything to do with our elections." In his letter, he urged his supporters to, quote, "boycott baseball and all of the woke companies that are interfering with free and fair elections." He asked, "Are you listening, Coke, Delta, and all?" The NFL and the NBA have all been criticized by Trump at one time or another during his administration. The NFL was also criticized by Trump for disrespecting the American flag by allowing its athletes to kneel on one knee in protest during the playing of the national anthem before games. The NBA, for its part, was criticized by Trump for allowing several teams to cancel games in protest of police brutality during last year's playoff season. Trump had also said that the NBA was bought out by the Chinese Communist Party because the Basketball Association was more concerned with its overseas profits than supporting democratic policies. Hunter Biden admits for the first time that the scandalous computer could be his. President Joe Biden's son, Hunter, admitted for the first time in a public interview that the laptop with a lot of secret information that triggered Laptopgate could be his, but he also said that the computer might have been hacked by Russia. Hunter said in a CBS interview on Friday, April 2nd that, quote, "There could be a laptop out there that was stolen from me. It could be that I was hacked. It could be that it was Russian intelligence." The laptop was dropped off in 2019 at a computer store in Delaware owned by John Paul MacIsaac, who said Hunter Biden asked him to recover the contents from the damaged machine but has not come to pick it up or pay for it since. The computer contained explosive messages and emails of Hunter Biden about drug use, drunkenness, sex scandals, and foreign dealings, some involving his various business deals that took place in countries such as Ukraine and China. A cybersecurity expert authenticated one of the emails, which showed that Vadim Pojarsky, a top executive at the Ukrainian gas company in Burisma, had met with Joe Biden when he was in Washington in 2015. Joe Biden was vice president at the time, while Hunter Biden was a member of the board of directors of Burisma. This had raised serious questions about Joe Biden's abuse of power, questioning Joe Biden's use of his vice presidential title to help his son. Hunter Biden's foreign dealings are currently under investigation by members of Congress, and his tax returns are under investigation by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware. President Biden says the release of information on a laptop allegedly belonging to his son is part of a smear campaign. The contents were first released last October when Biden launched a campaign challenge to then-President Donald Trump. After the interview, NPR issued a correction to its report on Hunter Biden's book review, which previously said that the claim that the laptop belonged to him was discredited by independent investigations by U.S. intelligence. The correction reads, quote, "A previous version of the story said U.S. intelligence had discredited the laptop story. U.S. intelligence officials have not made a statement to that effect." U.S., Japan, and South Korea talk about China, North Korea, South China Sea, and other issues. Japan's National Security Secretariat Secretary General Shigeru Kitamura and South Korea's Director of National Security Seo-hoon were invited by U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan to hold talks between the U.S., Japan, and South Korea's national security chiefs at the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, on Friday, April 2nd. They discussed issues related to the Chinese Communist Party, North Korea, the pandemic, and the South China Sea. Immediately after holding 2+2 dialogues with Japan and South Korea respectively, the U.S., Japan, and South Korea sat down together again to talk about common national security issues. Onlookers believed that this emphasized how much the U.S. values the Indo-Pacific region. Based on multiple reports, this was another high-level meeting between the White House, Japan, and South Korea that has taken place in recent weeks. The talks were held behind closed doors with no media interviews and no joint statements, emphasizing the sensitivity of the national security issue. The venue chosen was the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, making it easier for Japan and South Korea to engage with the U.S. military, especially the U.S. Navy. According to the White House National Security Council on Thursday, April 1st, the talk will address topics such as North Korea, China, and the South China Sea, and will also focus on the impact of the COVID-19 outbreak in the North Korean leadership. U.S. officials also said the three national security advisors will discuss various aspects of North Korea, including denuclearization, nuclear non-proliferation, North Korea's internal affairs, North Korea's recent missile test launches, and some of the recent diplomatic activities between the Communist Party of China and North Korea. But is it time to engage with North Korea on public health and wellness? U.S. officials said the timing is premature, but are interested in hearing about the assessment of the pandemic in North Korea. As for the Biden administration's policy toward North Korea, U.S. officials said the policy is nearly completed, and the Japanese and South Korean national security officials will provide suggestions. It is not yet known exactly when the policy towards North Korea will be announced. The Biden administration is strengthening ties with its Indo-Pacific allies, and on March 12th, President Biden held his first summit with the leaders of Japan, India, and Australia. It is seen as the determination by the four countries to counter the growing military and economic power of the Chinese Communist Party. U.S. officials also said they welcomed South Korea's cooperation with the other countries of the summit in various areas as well. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time.